you guys? Scott from MMA Fanboy. I saw something pretty interesting this morning on Facebook on an MMA group that I'm part of, and the post was a bit contradictory, to be honest. But the second part of the post actually had some validity to it. I actually thought that's not a bad idea, and I'm going to share with you what it was. So this guy was on about Alexander Volkanovski and that he hasn't fought in however long. Now, irrelevant of the situation behind that, he obviously hadn't done his homework because Volkanovski got COVID. He was supposed to fight, couldn't fight. He's now recording The Ultimate Fighter with Brian Ortega. He will fight later in the year against Ortega. So I don't think he'd done his homework on that part of it. But the second part of it, he said that champions should fight at least twice a year. Now, I'm guessing when he said twice a year, he meant in a 12-month period, because if you win the belt in October, you're not going to be fighting twice more that year, but in a 12-month period. And I thought, actually, that's not a bad idea. He then went on to say contenders should fight at least 3 times a year. Now, look, I'm not one to sort of tell anybody what they should and shouldn't do with their lives. These guys have contracts with X amount of fights on them, depending on what they agree to. But I think that does have some legs. Now, whether that's an option or not, I don't know. Whether that would happen or not, I don't know. But it would definitely make the divisions more exciting. Now, I'm not a fighter. I don't know the stresses and strains that camps put a fighter under. The time away from your family, the dedication to training, the dedication to nutrition. I do kind of know that side of things because those of you that know me know that I'm into my health and fitness. So I do know there's a certain discipline behind that. But yeah, I mean, there's times away from your family with these camps. There's guys and girls going to different parts of the country, different parts of the world, specifically for training camps to get ready for fights. And there's obviously time associated to that, depending on how long the camp is. So there has to be a factor of that as well. So when you look at it, maybe twice a year isn't so much of an ask. 3-4 times, depending on who you are. I mean, we see people do that. Cowboy, for example, has done it in the past. There's many other people on the roster that have decided to fight 3-4 times a year and keep active. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we have to take into consideration that, especially after tough fights, if you're going 5 rounds, you've been battered and bruised, you've gone through that camp, man, you just want to rest. The last thing you're thinking about is when I can get back in there. I imagine, because I'm not a fighter, you've been through hell and now you just want to rest. And that's understandable. But does the fact that fighting, especially if you're a champion, that you should fight at least twice a year, does that have legs? I'd love to hear people's opinion. Because as much as I don't think we should be seeing mandatory fights, you should fight this fighter, because we all know how the UFC rankings work. It's all done by the media, the MMA media. It's put together that way. So looking at the rankings, it doesn't necessarily correlate to what's happened or what the situation is all the time. It's pretty close, but I also think that there probably is room, especially for champions. Could they fight at least twice a year? Should it be mandatory that they fight twice a year? Not necessarily mandatory on who they fight, but should it be mandatory that they have a certain amount of activity in a 12-month period? Love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm just going to leave it open. I can see it being a good idea. I would like it because I'd like to see fights. I'd like to see titles on the line. That's what it's all about. But does it work? Will it work? There's also money to consider as well with these guys. So I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know. Comment. Click subscribe if you like the content. And the like button, please, if you wouldn't mind. And I'll see you next time.